I pledge allegiance. And Mr. Paul, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance? Will you lead us to the pledge of allegiance, Paul?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, justice for all.
Amen. We don't even have S. You don't need a re-advertise.
I don't like this many guns in one place.
We'll take just a minute. Is Michaela on board yet? Is Michaela on board?
Was that?
Michaela coming out?
No, she's on.
I sweat a lot.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. Roll call vote.
Duncanson,
Present.
Van Summeren,
Here.
Thompson's not here, Van Blarkum,
Here.
Elkin,
Here.
Manor.
Here. Okay. Item number 1 is public comment. Is there anyone who has public comment on anything that tickles your heart? Yes.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up about Amory's Price is Right, which will be on August 10th this year. It is our second Amory's Price is Right. One change this year is that shoppers can shop at any Amory Community Club businesses from 10 to 4 on Friday or Saturday. So that way it includes businesses that aren't open on Saturdays, which last year it didn't. So that this way everyone can have a little piece of the pie. And for those of you who are not familiar with Amory's Price is Right, last year we were able to have local community club businesses make $50,000 in 6 hours on a Saturday. And the way it works is for every $20 that you spend at a participating Amory Community Club business, you'll get a card at 5 p.m. on Saturday. Well, registration starts at 4. You put your name and address and phone number on the backs of these cards. They go into a big drum, and we play a Price is Right game. And so I know a lot of you were there last year. Mike helped out with it last year, which was wonderful. And we draw names. You come on down. Last year we tried to give away a car. But it was a no-go. Didn't get one, but we did give away a trip to Las Vegas. We gave away furniture, we gave away kitchen gadgets, we gave away a hot tub, we gave away a security system. So, which was all due to our thankful donors, that we're super happy that everyone jumps on board with it. So this year, we also have some pretty big prizes. And we just want to get everyone to shop local every day, but especially on those 2 days. And if you have any questions about the Price is Right, you can reach out to me and you'll see posters up in town soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's April.
Chuck.
Tuesday, August 6th, National Night Out. Just like everywhere, should be everything, hot dogs and. I don't know if you guys gonna serve snow cones or what they're gonna do, s'mores or whatever, but. I know we'll be having hot dogs and water and stuff and everything for the kids, so come on out.
Okay, thank you. We also are invited, and I think the public is invited to it, a large party for Cycling Without Age. If you've been, the last couple of weeks, you've seen the soft opening that they had with, one pedal power and bicycle wheels type thing, and are able to take, senior citizens and folks that don't get around for a ride, and that will be Friday, July 26th, I'm sorry, at 1:30 at Sioux Line Park. And there's gonna be demonstration rides. I'm signing up for that. Ice cream provided by Ellie's and cookies from Dorothy Ann Bakery and Cafe. So y'all come.
I better say something quick. Just so everybody knows. Pickleball court. Mark is behind with the weather. It's gonna be the first week, they're hoping in August. We've been moved back. Nothing I can do about it, weather's bad.
Get your bulletproof vest out.
Yep. Been waiting phone calls.
Okay, and then. Since we don't have an agenda item, but we would like to have an update from the finance committee, Roger.
Okay, yeah, just to kind of give you an update. We've had discussions with all three banks. One being Wisconsin Credit Union, Bremer Bank, and then is it Pillar Bank now? And what we're asking for is just what kind of interest rates they can give us and kind of put together a plan of how to better utilize all the money that we have, because there are times there's just excess money sitting around, whether it's through because of TIF districts or whatever. And so we're working on it. And so I'm gonna start meeting with them and just seeing what we can do to bring in a little more interest on money that's just kind of sitting there until we utilize it and stuff. But we're also gonna be looking at lines of credit or sweep accounts and or lines of credit as well. So and the idea is, why have that money sitting in the bank, getting a small amount of interest when we could either be offsetting maybe some loans or building interest. If my time's up, so.
Okay.
So, but if you got any questions, just give us a call, or let me know.
I got one more thing, Rick. Since I'm going out on surgery Friday. Mitch is the first assistant's gonna be stepping in as interim. He thought he'd come down and show his face tonight, so you guys, in case you guys don't know him. There he is.
Stand up, Mitchell.
Hi, Mitch.
Bio? Beach?
Okay,
We'll get that in 2
all
weeks.
right, now, one of the parts of the evening, we are recognition of service for Paul Hawks. So Dan, you're doing a recommendation, I guess, and I'm gonna stand up and do it too.
I want to recognize Paul for, we figured out it's 8 years of service between his part-time and his full-time, and we just want to tell him good luck and congratulations on his new position as chief of the Clear Lake Police Department, so.
Okay, this is thank you for again for your service to the city of Avery, Officer Paul House, for 8 years of service. We truly appreciate it. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. You gotta stand by here, then. We gotta get the propaganda started.
It's not bad.
And would kind of be fitting to recognize, I'm pretty, Heather, this is last meeting, right? Your official last day is when?
Next Friday.
Next Friday,
Yes.
so. I'm assuming Dan will bring coffee and cakes. One of these. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Good luck.
21.
Yes,
Thank you. Wish you well. See you. Thank you.
so.
We could move this.
It's the mayor, it's the judge, who cares? Part-time.
Okay. Item number 3, ordinance 14/2024, amendment to chapter 45103, swimming pools and hot tubs. We talked about this several times. This amends our code to allow hard. Yeah,
Society for Testing and Materials Standard F1346 covers. So whatever covers fit within that category to basically allow a human not to fall into the pool. A lot of the times they'll come over as like a hard cover and a keypad is in place or something is in place that they close. So they wouldn't have to have a fence done and instead they would have this as their safety barrier. One of the things that came up and was discussed at Plan Commission is it talks about that they'll get a certificate of compliance and stuff like that. I've already talked to Dan and Dan has agreed to do they'll fill out the form. I have that ready. It'll be $100 fee and it'll be an inspection to ensure that it meets his standards for what this cover has to be.
Okay.
And it'll be like they have to have, I have on there that they have to have their plan of how they're going to make sure it's closed and things like that.
It's in addition to the building permit that they need to put the pool in, right?
If it's in, yeah, it'll be part of, if they're putting in a new pool with one of these, they'll be getting a building permit. This will end up as part of that that. If they're just installing one on an existing pool, then it would just be this.
$100, okay.
So then Taylor, because the fire department fills the pools, so guys on the fire department who fill them, they contact you to make sure that they're compliant.
Yeah, you'd be able to check with us to see if they have a certificate on file. We'll start a book of certificates.
Okay.
And I think that's how it came to light anyway, was
Yeah.
pools, so.
Yes.
So by all means, and even though it's city limits, I think it would be worth following if you go out in the country to fill pools. Make sure they got, that they're per code, so. All right, is there a motion?
Can I ask another question? So anybody that has a pool has to apply for this as well.
If they're installing one of these covers and they don't have a fence, if they have a fence, they don't have to have one of these covers. This is basically so that they don't have to have a fence. So anybody that's putting in this pool that doesn't want to have a fence would need to have one of these covers.
I think there was just an 18-month-old last week that drowned somewhere in Minnesota. Fell into the pool. Nobody saw him, so worthwhile. Motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve ordinance 14-2024, amendment to chapter 4-103, swimming pools and hot tubs.
Second that motion.
Seconded to approve ordinance 14-2024. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's ordered. Okay, item number 4 is a rezoning application for 1105 Cornwall Avenue to change from C2 to I1.
Yes, so this went through Plan Commission 2 weeks ago. Currently it's zone C2, which is like Central Business District. With what they do with the auto body painting and things like that, it actually more comfortably fits into an I1. They're doing an expansion on their building, which is what brought it to light. So in order for me to do their zoning permit, we needed to fix their zoning compliance. So this will bring them into compliance. There was nobody at the public hearing that had any issues with it at all. There was nobody at the public hearing other than the owners and chairman. So there was no public saying they didn't want this and stuff like that.
Motion,
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning request for BAW rentals. Moving from C2 to I1. I'll second that motion.
motion seconded to approve the rezoning application for 1105 Cornwall Avenue from C2 to I1. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Ordered. Number 5 is the exit interview policy.
So this went through personnel committee. The only thing personnel committee wanted changed was it said like company in some places. That's been changed to city or organization, whatever made more sense in the context of it. Otherwise, everything else was okay by personnel committee.
They do me, just don't do my stuff.
I have a question on, so are we requiring all exit interviews or is it still optional or?
We're gonna try and have everybody that fits into the criteria do an exit interview. I'm not sure that we can force somebody that refuses to do one. But our plan is to have everybody do one as long as they're willing.
I think that's a good idea because you can actually learn quite.
Yep, and it says who would be doing one. It would exclude like normal library staff because the library board does that, but it would include Heather. And it would exclude like our temporary staff or ones who were terminated and things like
Summer
that.
help and that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Need a motion?
Yep, I think this was pretty well discussed at personnel, and then we had enough other council members there to review it at that time, so I think it's a great idea, so I would move to approve our exit interview policy. I'll second that motion.
Motion's made and seconded to approve our exit interview policy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Number 6 is updated fee schedule for REM inspecting.
Evening, everyone. Every year I try to look at the costs that we're charging and to see if it's in line with our competitors as well as industry standards and inflation and all those kinds of things. So for this particular year, I've submitted a revision for the existing schedule that we have currently for the city. It represents the same type of format that I use for other municipalities that I have contracts with. This particular format uses the ICC International Code Council's basis for cost, so we don't try to guess what the number should be. We basically look at what they've determined as the cost of building a project. They take numbers throughout the whole country as well as areas, and then they come up with a square footage dollar amount as how much it should cost to build a house or to build something in your neighborhood there. And so we basically take that square footage and then come up with our number to put in the fee schedule itself. The number that was in the last year's ICC schedule and this year's ICC schedule was the same, so we actually didn't have a change in fees associated with that. So the only thing I think that we increased was our application fee. It went up by $5 just to cover the cost of our internal administrative cost for processing things in-house kind of thing. Otherwise, really the proposal here is to utilize our fee schedule in the format of using the ICC schedules and those kinds of things, but the fees themselves aren't going to change very much from what you had last year to this year. So, and then of course I provided the certificate of liability with the current dates of
That's
You guys,
that's nationwide.
but I have it.
That's nationwide, Dan.
the ICC is nationwide, but they also do regionals too, like the
So-
Minneapolis region.
Okay. So how do we compare, for instance, with does the state also have this is what Wisconsin's average type thing is?
I haven't looked to see if Wisconsin's put out a cost per square foot for what if the Wisconsin's done any data like that.
Yeah, I was just wondering if Wisconsin's in the top half or bottom half or.
Sure.
Or
I don't know the answer, but I can certainly find an answer to that.
was just thought.
Yep. So the data is available. It's just called the ICC data evaluation number, and you just Google it and it pops right up. And they update it in February and in August. So they're looking at the cost of materials, the cost of labor, and those types of things. And when they put those dollars, the square foot price per square foot for these types of projects.
And that's for this region.
Correct.
Well, I think I asked you and Heather to Heather, sorry about that, Taylor. To look at the possibilities of maybe combining some things in our building code or building permits that would just make the process easier for people that are looking at building or doing something. The one complaint that I hear, and it's not just for us, but is that, oh, I got a building permit and then I had to go get another permit and then I had to do something else to do that. And why can't we just, it was a sign permit that was, folks were interested in. Why can't we just, I'd like to just go and get all of them at once and write out one check and be done with it. Is that, did you get a chance to work on that at all?
Well, they're not, we do usually collect for all the fees at once if we know it's all coming. We don't always know it's all coming though until it comes down the line. I know some of the sign permits we get. The building permit goes through, no zoning permit is needed, and then suddenly a sign comes 6 months into the project. So, but usually like, if we can, we try and bill for the zoning permit and the building permit at the same time. We almost always collect those at the same time.
It just seemed to me that maybe, particularly if it's a commercial entity that's looking for a building permit, you can almost make look on the fact that they're gonna wanna do something for a sign, maybe just a simple questionnaire for somebody that comes in and says.
I have not had a chance to put like a list together, but I'd like to put a list together of if you're a new house, you would need these forms. If you're a business, you may need these forms. I have not had time to do that though.
Yeah, that's,
The complaints was a dumpster. Better a fee for a dumpster.
Yeah.
For a renovation.
permit. You're tearing something down that do that, forgive that if they're rebuilding, or they give them credit for it, right?
No, because the demolition permit all goes straight to Dan. The city doesn't collect anything out of the demolition
And
permits.
the dumpster permit is only if they're putting it on the street.
Correct, so the
Only on
dumpster
the-
permit is for the dumpster piece that's gonna be on the street, and then the demolition permit is for me to make sure it's safe as they're taking things out, making sure there's no hazardous materials in there, so I perform 2 inspections basically with that inspection fee with the demolition. As they're going through that demolition process, try to make sure if they have any open holes, are they going home at night and putting guards around it, those kinds of things, so that's kind of what the demolition permits about.
Oh, so if I was gonna tear my porch off, for instance, at my house.
Hmm.
So I need, and rebuild it or whatever, so I need a building permit. Do I have to have a demolition?
The EMA ordinance says 400 square feet or larger, I believe is what's in the ordinance, so.
I think my porch is pretty close.
I think that's what the ordinance has in there, is if it's a 400 square foot or more project, then a demolition permit would be required.
Okay, so I gotta get a building permit. And I got a permit. And now I got a dumpster permit also.
If it goes on the street.
If the dumpster's on the street, then that would be there also.
Yeah. If it's on your own property, then we don't care.
Because we have zoning
So
permit.
my suggestion would be to put those kinds of things on a little.
Checklist.
That's what
That's what I plan to do. I just have not had time to do that.
I'm certainly happy to come over and help.
Yeah, no, I was just, those questions that I get asked, people say, oh, geez, I did.
Yeah, I know we talked about having packets for new businesses, and that's something that I would like to have in the packet for the new businesses when they come.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
In your spare time.
Yeah.
Questions and comments about the demolition permit process? So I recall, the city passed an ordinance that if there was a demolition project of a structure that was not going to be rebuilt, that the permit fee would help account for the loss of tax revenue because because there would no longer be an improvement on the tax roll. And then if they were rebuilding, then that would be mostly forgiven. It would be lessened quite a bit. There would still be a permit required, but the fee would be nominal. Do we know where whatever happened to that?
As
Or
far as I know, that should still be, I don't
it was an ordinance.
yeah, I don't recall if that ever went away for any reason.
At one point, we were charging by square foot for demolition permit, and then when the fee schedule got redone, it got to a flat $125, because it used to be if your building was this square foot, it was this fee. If it was this square foot, it was this fee, and then it went to a flat rate. I can look into the ordinance, but I don't have an answer for that.
All right, well, I'm pretty sure we had one that relaxed that, yeah, and the reason for it was that if, let's say your house started on fire and you decided that, you know, you had to take it apart, so now you get a demolition permit, and if appropriate, a dumpster, or several dumpster permits or whatever. But then if you, as you get to ground level, you decide, you know, now you're gonna rebuild. I think we forgave most of it, if not all of it.
If it's being rebuilt, but there were, I recall several situations where, you know, it was like a single family home and it was torn down and it was not rebuilt. And if I recall correctly, at that time, to help compensate for the loss of the tax revenue, that demolition permit was thousands of dollars.
Unless that's in the ordinance, I don't think you can enforce anything like that.
Well, an ordinance was passed, like I said,
know, I'm-
they can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can speculate about. Whatever it says is what it is.
We may have lost.
If we need to change it, we can change it.
I know the fee schedule reads $125 right now, though, and our ordinance typically references our fee schedule. So we probably need to look at our fee schedule as part of finance committee.
Okay.
So can we talk about the schedule for REM?
You bet.
So Dan doesn't have to stand there any longer,
Pertinent to Danny Hopper.
but
And I'm glad to be a part of the team to answer questions, so.
we appreciate you.
So ultimately, the only change is that $5 application fee increase.
That's what we done. However, the original schedule that was done was back when we were doing bids with Josh Malmstrom's agency. And so we used Josh's fee schedule. And I'm not sure how he came up with his particular fees at that particular moment in time. But then I went back and reviewed his fee schedule and then tried to adjust them to match closer to what my fees were. But it wasn't my schedule per se, based on the ICC and those kinds of things. So I just grabbed what he had and then tried to make some sense of it at that time. So now I'm trying to bring it back into our normal operating process of a schedule, with following the ICC square foot rules and those types of things.
Yeah, this one makes, it's more sane going forward because you have, it's tied to something that's.
Right.
It's adjusted yearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should approve the fee schedule.
I move to approve the updated fee schedule for REM Inspecting LLC.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the updated fee schedule. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
And if you hurry, we'll get this done in 29 minutes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Good job.
I'll be damned. That's probably the shortest one you ever had. No, I got like 15 one.
Yeah, we did.
No, I'm talking.